Let's say welcome everyone to the third part of Build With Us at Omnitas. Today I have Viggo with me because today I will not be building myself because Viggo is so much better at this than I am. So at part one, we built a very simple CRM. In part two, we built a project overview with all the projects being managed as sub items. And we also created a workflow where the items got created or the projects were created automatically from the CRM in the project. So what we're doing today is that we are gonna be looking at how we can run projects in Monday with help of an app called Roll Up Multiple Board, meaning that we'll have a project overview and we'll have detailed project plans and everything will be super connected and matched, and we'll get help with automatic roll up, right, Viggo?
Yeah.
So with that said, where do we find the app? How do we get started?
Okay. First of all, where you find the app is in the app marketplace. So you can click here and on app marketplace, or you could click in a board. You can click on the top right on the app marketplace, or you could of course go here to apps and there you find the marketplace as well. Mm-hmm. So here is quite easy. If you search for roll up multiple boards or just roll up, then you find it, the only app that is called that. And from here you would probably have an install button up here. For me it's use app, and as it says here, you get a 10-day trial, and after that you will need to purchase it. There is a one-time fee that depends a little bit on how many project masterboards that you're going to use. In order to get more info about that, I would definitely recommend visit the developer website, where it's explained much better why you would need several masterboards, but it's also kind of visualized in this picture. Here, for example, you have different regions and different branches that have a roll up to different levels. So it totally depends on what kind of build that you want to have.
It depends really on how you want to break the data, but you don't need to buy multiple versions. You can have one project overview and break the data up in different views and different dashboards instead, right? But it comes down to quality of life. If you want to segregate so only certain people can view the project overview, obviously with Monday we need to split it up into multiple boards. So we have installed the app. What happens then? What's always your step one, Viggo?
My step one would be to start having a project overview. In this case, we have one, but we will change it quite a lot because we will not put the deliverables in the sub items. As in this example, we will make a new one because in the project overview would be the master board later for the app itself. So it's always good to start by having that kind of list of projects. That's what it is really. That later you will have data rolled up onto to get a summarized view. And then after that, I would start making templates, but maybe a little bit more on that later, actually.
So let's make a project overview.
Sure.
Let's make a clean one. It's not that much work since 90% of all the boards are mirrored ones.
With a nice name there.
Perfect.
So first in the project overview, I would start by segmenting the board into the groups that I would like to have. In this case, maybe I will go for planning up here. These are the projects that I'm currently planning. Maybe these are the ongoing projects, and then I have one that is just called finished projects. And I will assume that any projects that are cancelled will, in this case, will just be removed. But otherwise, of course, we could segment this differently to have a cancelled project group as well. We could have more than just ongoing. As we could, divide that into even more groups. Of course, if we have a lot of projects to different stages, for example. But let's keep it simple for now.
Yeah, I think this is good enough for now.
Yeah, so we have the PM here, and here we have a few statuses. We can keep those. And I will, I'll keep that for now. So here in the overview, one thing that is needed for the RMB app is a link column that will later be used by the app. So it's a URL link column.
Perfect.
Link. That is used later for the task board, so to say, because each row here will represent one project. But then in order to have the tasks or deliverables, or have it broken down into tasks or deliverables, we will do that in a separate board whose link will be put in here.
Cool.
I'm also going to move this furthest to the left so that I have it readily available, and I'll pin it here as well. It's a nice feature that Monday has. So when I later have more columns and I scroll, I will always have the link here on the left-hand side.
Okay, cool. So that's the link to the project board. Perfect.
And having this quite basic setup now, I will leave it for the time being and look at my project template that I will use, because the RMB app works that you select a status. Let's actually have a project type here as well before we go to that. We have a status column here saying, for example, template 1 or type 1. And with that would, in this case, I will, so when I select the type 1 project, I would like to have a board created and a link put in here where I break down the project according to this project type.
Okay,
so
but before you leave
template. So let's have it for maybe a standard project. That could be the type. And we
before
have
before you leave the project overview, can we make like a column instruction to say that don't change the project type until you're ready to start planning out your project or something like that?
Sure, we could put it here in the description. So
yeah, before ready to plan your project. Perfect.
Like that.
Because it will create the detailed project plan instantly, even if it's just a placeholder project, right? And if you mouse over that eye, you will get to see that information, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Cool. So I'm excited to see your project template.
Sure. So let's, as you can see, I've prepared one for this webinar because it usually takes a while unless you have something ready-made that you import to, or something that you already used in Monday. Then it could take a while to set up a few example items here. But as you can see here, I have a project template that has something, some tasks that need to be done, like a workshop with the client, a analysis that needs to be made, and so on.
Cool.
I have also put in a template some people who are responsible for each item, and that will of course be copied later into the individual plans that we make for the projects themselves. And of course it makes sense to leave the status and deadline empty for now, but I also have templated in some estimate hours that it usually takes, and then that's of course when you create this detailed plan for a specific project, then afterwards you can change these numbers in case you need to. And then we have a dependency column here. So dependencies in Monday, we could go into that later, but they are shown in the famous Gantt charts as arrows. And you can also have a bunch of automations going between the dependencies. So yeah, we could go into detail on that later, I think.
In Monday, you know, it's quite easy that you become smarter and you decide you need to add more information. Is there anything around that to think about when you're running RMB? Does it matter if you add to your template later on in the process?
I mean, changing the values are usually quite okay. You should be mindful about the columns. But there are ways now that has recently been updated with RMB that you could actually add a column afterhand as well.
That's good.
If you want to, into a running project board, so to say, or one that has already been created. That also gets thrown up.
You can basically generate a remapping.
Yeah, exactly. So that is quite good. That was quite recent, I think, that was added. But overall, it is good to have everything in place from the beginning, such as details like that one that we want an hour after the number, or that you want all the columns that you need later for your projects already put in here.
So what statuses do we have?
Yeah, at the moment, we have the status working on it, ready for delivery, and done. And we have some automation, very standard automations that move these items between the groups. But of course, this could be segmented in any way that you want. For example, the two most common ways is either this one, where it's a flow for not started, ongoing, ready for delivery, and done, that you kind of go through each item and it moves between the groups. Another way to segment it that is quite common is by project phases. So, for example, if you have project phase 1 on the top, and then you select like done as you go by, and then you see that the whole group, everything is done, then you can just collapse it, and you can see that, okay, this project phase is now finished.
Yeah, so basically this is an agile project template, definitely. But can we make some, I know that we're going to be needing some flags, some risks, some delay statuses, right? Based on what's happening with the status column and the deadline.
Yeah, for example, it like you say there, it would be quite good to have a status that says something. I mean, the standard in Monday is usually stuck. So later, which I will show also, and that you mentioned here, Thomas, is that this can be rolled up as well. That we can see that the overall health of the project could be determined on different thresholds for how many items that are stuck.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, which is a quite nice feature that RMB has, and that is usually quite also appreciated by the users of this app. Appreciated by me, at least.
Do we need to do something more in the template before we can start using it with the app?
This all depends on what you want to do later, but one thing that is quite good is to add a drop-down column, because that is used by filters in the app. So this drop-down could be project phase, for example. So let's say that this is phase 1, and we have phase 2, and maybe phase 3. That should be enough.
Definitely.
And then we could have them segmented that way as well at the same time, because later we could aggregate data filtered by this by phase if we want to.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So actually that is quite good. Nice thing to have there. Yeah, and we have estimate hours here. If we want even more numbers, I mean, one thing that is quite common for a standardized project is to maybe have a number saying how much something costs. So we could have a cost column here. In terms of,
I think you're just showing off with your numbers column, because I think that you know what you're going to be doing with them. So what currency are we selecting here for the cost?
Yeah, let's go for euro.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So put some numbers in quickly, and then let's see what we can do. Is there, like I said, other than that, is there something? I see that we have RMB under project template. Is that, or what's that?
Yeah, that is quite important, actually. It's good that you bring it up. So the RMB app, in order to configure it correctly, you need to have this tag, the RMB in square brackets, somewhere in the project description. So, I mean, it could be a quite long description here, and this tag is just on the bottom or whatever, and then all of this could be hidden like that, and it's no problem. It's just so that the RMB app later will be able to find it among all the templates. So I'm also gonna save this one as a template, because that is also a prerequisite for the app, and this is something that most Monday users know about, that you can have a a main board, so to say, and you can save it as a template, and then it's available when you select a new board and you get this menu where you have a lot of templates, then that one is added there as well.
Perfect.
But that is also needed for the app.
So what do we now do with the project overview?
Add a recipe or the integration recipe from the Roll Up Multiple Boards app that actually creates this new board for the project itself, right? So I'll go to integrate here, and I'll search for Roll Up Multiple Boards. And here we have a bunch of recipes. We'll go through some of these later, but the first one that I want to find here is the one that actually creates the board. So in this case, I mentioned earlier that we want project type to change to standard in order to create the board. And here we can also select what kind of board that we want. If we want a main board that would be visible to everyone, we have a private board, and then we have shareable boards that have some restrictions on them. More on that. I think that maybe you brought it up in previous webinars, Thomas, but most Monday users know about this already anyway.
Yeah, let's do main board for now.
Exactly. And then we select the templates, and here it will search and it will find the project templates that I just created, thanks to that tag and having it as a template. And then I place the link in the link to project column, the one that I mentioned earlier as well. And then in this case, I will call each newly created board project board 4, and then we take the name of the row itself. So assuming that we have the project name as the item name here in the overview board, then here our project is called Icaros. Then when it creates a project board for Icaros, then that board will be called project board for Icaros.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. There's a bunch of other ways of naming it. You can look into the documentation for the app I have here, where we have it on page 5, where we can put in a bunch of other
That's really good. And you can use all the column IDs that you can use in a normal Monday notification. We just don't have the buttons to press. We need to write the ID name ourselves, right?
Exactly. And I mean, the details on how to do that, I would refer to this PDF that you find on the developer's website. It's easier rather than going through it all right now.
Gotcha.
So let's add this recipe to the board. When that is done, we could generating project boards for our projects from the project list here, or the project overview. But it would not aggregate any data since we don't have any data fields yet. But we will solve that later.
Let's rename them a little, right, and make them.
Icaros. Here we have Pegasus.
Okay.
Maybe this one is called something else. Project Black. Here we have bananas, and here we have pineapple. Good.
Cool.
I usually go to fruit when I try to figure out random stuff.
So what happens?
But I tried staying away from it.
Can we start generating the projects, or is there more configuration to do?
We could start actually to generate the project board now, and maybe we should try it just for show here, because it's the basic. Sorry?
Yeah, let's do it for at least one of the projects.
Yeah, so let's go for Icaros, and here we select standard, so that the app knows which one of my templates. I mean, this one, we only set up one template, but we could have as many templates as we want. I mean, one for each. So status label here.
We would just set up multiple automations then, I assume.
Exactly. So you create one of these recipes per status label and per template. Yeah. But now we can see that we have created a board it's showing up here, of course, in our board list. But you can also see it by having a link here now that is clickable. Cool. By the way, it's a very good idea to lock this column from editing. So that people don't accidentally remove that link, because it's very vital for the app. I mean, if it's accidentally removed, you can't really recreate it manually, which is so it's always good practice to lock it like this.
That's a really good pro tip.
So in order to get to the board, I of course use the link because that's the easiest way. But I could have clicked also here in the board list to get there. Yeah, so here we see the whole template or the whole project board. Right now it looks exactly like the template, of course. You can start putting in some dates now that we do this for those dates, and this one we do for these dates, and so on. And then we can start also ticking it off that we've started working on this one, so we see that it changes the group and so on. All the standard kind of Monday features that you have here in the board, because it's also a standard Monday board, of course. So you can also, for this specific project, I could make integrations with Google Gmail, or I could do whatever kind of integration I want, maybe to the Slack channel, or if you use that kind of stuff. So
Can we mark something as done so we could just see how it aggregates as well?
sure. Let's mark the first item as done, and then we also this one could be working on. Let's do a little bit more dates.
Yeah.
So that we have some more data in here real quick. There we go. Yeah, sorry, Thomas.
No, that's all good. So I'm curious to see what we can aggregate now. Can I aggregate the status, the dates, the estimated time, the cost? What can I aggregate into the project overview?
Yeah, all of that.
Wow.
Let's start doing it.
Show me.
So first of all, I want to know maybe how many of what percentage of the items are done.
Mm-hmm.
So let's create a text. Let's create a text column saying percentage done here, where we could aggregate data on how much is done.
Cool.
I also want to have the full estimate hours into a separate column here. I go for a text column again, maybe.
Can't we do it in a number column?
Yeah, actually, you're right.
That would be more.
We could aggregate it nicely in the bottom of the group. That's better, actually. So let's go for total estimate hours. And we could also have the dates. So we create a timeline here, and this timeline we say will be aggregated. So it selects the first date of all the items in the underlying project board and the last date. And put it there. So we go for project span, we can call it, since that is actually what it's showing.
That's awesome.
And we had cost as well. Maybe we should
definitely a numbers column.
Yeah, there we go. Total costs, and maybe we should start there. Yeah. And then we could maybe, if we have time, we could move on to filters as well.
Super excited to see this.
Sorry.
Yeah, super excited to see how you set this part up.
So in order to set it up, I will need one recipe per column that I want to see aggregated data in. I will start by creating a simple recipe, roll up multiple boards again, a simple recipe for the status column then. Yeah, this is the one with the filter though. Yeah, okay, it should be fine. So here I can watch the status, and here it searches inside the template and see, okay, what templates do we have and what status columns do we have? And here it found in a project template status, the project template. It found a status column called status. Quite simple. So I select that one. But you would have a longer list if you had more templates and more columns of the status type, so to say.
Gotcha.
So I will, into the percentage done column, I will display the done in my format percentage, and then in parentheses it will say done as well. Let's go.
That sounds smart, yeah.
Yeah, go for that standard filter there.
And let's just plow through all the integrations, I would say.
And here we go, and it shows up that 11.1% is done, which is corresponding to one item in the underlying board.
That's so cool.
Yeah, let's go for the other recipes as well, and then we start showing stuff when we click on it and so on. So roll up multiple boards again. We go for the, I prefer timeline most of the times, because then we have both a start date and an end date, and we can do all the integrations anyway. You see that I select configure item filters here, which is kind of a standard filter. That means basically not filtering anything. So it shows all the items, not.
How would you use that filter option?
Oh yeah, we could go into that a little bit in the next step, so to say.
Okay, cool.
After we've shown just a demonstration a little bit on when we click it a bit. And we have number here somewhere as well. Here we go. So we go for estimate hours. We put it in the estimate hour, and we summarize it. We will not do, but we could have an average, minimum, maximum, and so on. But let's summarize this one. And no filter. And actually, for the cost, let's go for average instead. So here we select cost. We put it in the cost column that I will rename to average instead, and we have no filter. Good.
So let's look at this board then.
Yeah,
Wow.
right now we see some roll-up data here.
Mhm.
But yeah, like I said, let's go to the project board and start maybe to click around a bit. So I can do it in a separate tab. Here in the project board, we have, okay, one done. Let's go select 3 more that are done. Let's extend this one here into December sometime. And let's change the cost of it because it's taking so long to 5,000. And then we can see here after a while that's how it changes to 16th of December here. We have more done, we have a higher average cost. So it updates kind of instantaneously. You saw that it took a second, but that's because just how my browser loads stuff when it's
Gotcha.
same time.
But this looks awesome. So fire off the Pegasus and the Project Black as well, right?
Sure. So both of them we can just select standard.
Cool.
There we go. While we wait for that, we could start talking about the filters a little bit, like you mentioned. So here, let's have a estimate hours done column as well.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Or wait, estimate hours. I need to think differently here. Estimate hours for project phase for phase 1. Sorry, phase 1, and then we do one for phase 2 and one for phase 3. That is how we need to do it. If it's based on that drop down that we had.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I forgot which data we had in there.
So what variables do we have as filters? Can we do drop downs? Is there anything else? Is it just drop downs that we can use as filters?
Now we can use drop downs and we can also use person column.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see here. We have 2 new project boards, both of them according to the standard template. We can have a look in there that we have Pegasus. Nothing changed in here, exactly like the project template that we have up here, of course. And then we have Project Black as well.
Gotcha.
Great. So from here, now let's go back to the overview and start rolling up the, actually, let's change the phases a little bit. For Project Pegasus, then we have more in phase 2. And in Project Black, let's have a little bit more in phase 3.
Sounds good. Cool.
So that we can see the difference directly. And then we go back to our project overview, because this is where we create all the recipes for the roll-up. And let's start rolling up some more estimate hours then. So first of all, I would need to create a filter. So I search for roll-up multiple boards, and then I scroll down here to the filter option. So we have one filter that is matching a column in the master board to a column in the detail board.
Okay.
That is not the one that we're going to use today, but it is a possibility. What we're going to use is to matching a drop down to a list of labels. So let's go for this drop down, and then we get in project template, we have project phase. That's the drop down that I created. And we will have a list here. So let's go for phase 1. Here we need to match exactly to, so let's go to equals to check here. Here we have phase 1, that is spelled with a capital P, and we have a space here and then a 1. Good.
Cool.
So because we need to match this exactly to what it is here in the dropdown.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason that this is called CSV list, that is a quite odd name, but that's just how programmers say that you could have several labels here, but you need to separate them with a comma. So you have comma phase 2 here as well, and it will show both phase 1 and phase 2.
But I think you need a space between the two, or sorry, yeah, you're just doing one.
But anyway, so this time we're just gonna go for phase 1.
Okay.
And then we're gonna call a filter phase 1.
Cool.
And then I'm gonna create 2 more filters, one for each of the phases here. It will be real quick. One for each phase. And they need to be unique filter names, by the way, but that's quite obvious when you think about it. Now I'm also going to do the recipes for the columns. So I want to, once again, select roll up here. And then I will select a number like before, and I will select estimate hours. I will select estimate hours phase 1. That's the column in the rollup board, in the project overview board. We will have the sum of the phase 1, and we will have it according to the filter called phase
that's
1.
how you use it.
Right? So that's how you do it. I will show you later when it's live as well, but I'm just going to create the other two ones. One for phase 2 and one for phase 3. And now I'm showing value. Some of this, and the filter phase 2. To make it even more clear, it could have been called phase 2 filter or something, but I think most people will understand anyway.
Gotcha.
And then we have estimate hours for phase 3, and then we select the sum, and then we select phase 3. And then we add that to the board. And then we just go back and see the magic happen here. So you see that each of these cells fill in consecutively. Thank you.
Gotcha. That's a big word.
And we can see that, let's add also the suffix here, otherwise the numbers make no sense at all. So, oops, sorry. So we can see here that, for example, for the estimate hours for phase 1 for Icaros is 14 hours, but for Pegasus it's only 8 hours. While phase 2 is larger for Pegasus than Icaros. And then we have, for Project Black, we have 46 hours for phase 3, which is larger than any other phase that project has.
That's really awesome.
The project has. Sorry. Yeah.
I think we mentioned that you could do some flagging, right?
Yeah, that is good. Good that we don't forget that, because this is quite advanced what we've done now, actually. So let's go for the flagging instead. I mean, that is something that you want straight in front of your eyes when you open the project overview. So let's put it right here.
But that, yeah.
Here we will have
can't we use the other status?
You mean this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could actually.
Actually, no. It makes more sense making it in its own status column. You're absolutely correct.
Okay, yeah, but we can have an interplay here. So when it says that this project is fully stuck, then this one could change to stuck as well. That's we could do that with a Monday. So let's call this project health, because that is what it's called in roll-up multiple board language, and most other languages as well.
So let's do OK, risk, and critical.
Sorry?
On track, risk, and critical.
Yeah, good idea. Perfect. There we go. So for the project health, that is quite interesting. Actually, let's maybe go to the project boards and put some data for that. So here for Project Black, we select the first 4 items as stuck. In Pegasus, we selected only the first one as stuck. And Icaros, we select the first, or the top 2 here as a stuck. Good. Then we go back to our overview. So now we want that to reflect into this project health threshold here, and we will select the threshold ourselves here on how many items that need to be stuck in order for it to show at risk and in order to show critical. So let's go back to the roll-up multiple boards recipes. And we search for roll-up.
We're getting a good list of automations here.
Yeah. So let's go for this longest named recipe that we have for this app. This will watch the regular status column in the underlying boards. So we select project template status as before, and it will look at the product overview at a certain status that we pick ourselves. In this case, we will have the separate project health status that I just created. And here, it will become critical when we have a, let's say, 3 or higher.
Yeah, let's do 3.
Yeah, of stuff that is stuck. So I said that super slow because that is the most confusing part for me, at least. So I want everyone to be able to follow this. And then amber, we will select at risk. You can see it corresponds to the color, so it's quite easy to get it actually. So that we have at 2 or higher of, and let's select stuck here again. and otherwise it will show on track. So now we expect the one that we only had one stack item on to show on track, despite it having one stack item.
Yeah.
Based on the count. Here we could have percentage as well. So we could have like when 25% is stuck, then it's critical, and 12% at risk. 12% stuck, then it's at risk. But here I have thought in the terms of count, so that we have the number of rows really.
I just realized something, that you could actually build this in reverse based on done status, so it will go red, yellow, green, depending on the completion rate.
Yeah, well, yeah, we could do that too. You're totally correct. So we don't even need to select ongoing or done here in the overview board. It will have to be automatic.
Yeah,
definitely. And this time we will not filter by anything, but we could have one health per phase if we want to as well, as you can see here.
All right, cool.
We add this to the board. Good. And then we go back here and we will see the magic happen. Maybe we need to...
I think we need to trigger a status change, right?
I shouldn't have done that beforehand. Okay, let's go. Just do it for one item each in the underlying board. Should do the trick. It could also be that it sometimes takes an extra minute for it due to the response on how apps work in general. But yeah, at any time it should change.
You do have some lags on your sharing screen, so we really didn't see much more than some clicky. So it might be kicking in any second here.
In the meantime, Thomas, is there anything else that you would like to see from the app?
Yes, so I would like to see an executive view based on the project health. So I don't care about the table. I want to see some like a board dashboard there where we have a timeline colored by the project health, and also some easy to understand which projects are in which project health. Definitely.
Let's add that. So in this case, I would add a dashboard view here. Since I really like this new dashboard view.
It's perfect.
Items I've gotten. So let's go for, like I said,
like a Gantt, maybe.
Okay, I was thinking timeline, but sure. We don't have any dependencies in this board.
No,
so
true.
Let's go timeline in this case. But you're right, we could have a Gantt as well. So we make it a little bit bigger, and then we start configuring it. So here, like you said earlier, we'll have the project span, which is based on the underlying board, the underlying what's it called? The detail board, and we will group it not by PM. We will not group it at all in this case. Actually, let's group it by health. That's what we asked for earlier.
And let's also color it by health if possible.
Yeah, exactly. So it's super clear what health it has. There we go. So later, when the automation starts kicking in, we will see that there will be. We haven't added. We need to add some time for the other project. Add real quick. First over till for over here, and for project maybe add. So we get time as well. That was good to have some data. Good. And now that was the quickest fake data. But you will see that there was some popping in.
Yeah. How about we add a Kanban to make this to complement this dashboard view?
Yeah, definitely. And here we change from status to project health instead. So we can have it move automatically between all. Let's filter it as well, actually. We don't need to have.
And not on track, so because that will be a long list, right?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
You can add that in the same one, I believe.
Yeah, there we go. So we only have the ones that are actually at risk or critical, focused on. The rest we don't need to care much about. We can have the PM status. Let's add the percent.
Yeah.
The product span we'll add the percentage done. And maybe the type of project. We can have any data we want there. It's a standard Kanban view from Monday. But actually, since it's taken a little bit, then add some data in here. So that we have. There we go. So there we go.
Nice.
It will show in the card view
Mhm.
how the projects are doing. And that we showed earlier, it will also group here nicely in
Perfect.
the timeline. Yeah. And then, of course, you could do any kind of graph and so on, or widgets based on this. You have all that you're used to from Monday, even the Llama farm, that it will eat my computer's memory. So I will not add that for now. I think I already have issues, apparently, with sharing the screen. Good. Thomas, what else would you want to see?
Can we go into Pegasus in Black and just update some done statuses, please?
Sure. So let's say that these are done, and we go to black and say that these two are done. There we go. And then you want to go to the overview, understand? There we go. So we have seen directly that they have updated here. Yeah, that's quite nice. And they also updated the project span earlier there. Good.
So this is really, really nice. So I'm super happy. This is a really awesome project overview. It really helps our build, right? And I can tell everybody that we're gonna follow up on the build with us on December 8th. And then we're going to keep building on this same scenario. If you open up the target, let's look at what we're building towards. So this is what we're building towards. I think we might be looking at the marketing parts of it at November 8th. And
Great.
before that, Viggo, you have a webinar, right?
Yeah, I do. I have a webinar about how to extend the possibilities of Monday with the help of Integromat. I mean, if you guys like how you can extend the possibilities of project management with RMB, then you're gonna love the Integromat webinar I'm gonna have as well, where we really bend on the possibilities there.
Yeah, and that webinar is on November 3. It's on our webpage. Again, thank you, Bas de Bruins from Excellence team for building this awesome app that helps us and allows us to provide project management at enterprise portfolio project management level. It's awesome.
Thanks for watching. If you like our content, remember to subscribe.